City rail fans. You've tuned in to the Iron City Roundhouse Report, the podcast where we delve into the fascinating world of locomotives, rolling stock, and the rich history and current state of railroading. I'll be one of your hosts. My name's Brad Williamson, and our other host is my good friend Patrick Moore. And whether you're a seasoned model railroader, a history buff, or just someone who loves the sound of a passing train, you're in the right place. We're proudly affiliated with the Iron City N-Scale Facebook group, but don't let the name fool you. We cover all scales from Z to G and everything in between. We'll be exploring the vibrant railroading scene of western and central Pennsylvania, from the mighty steel giants of the past to the intricate layouts of today. Expect in-depth discussions, interviews with experts, and plenty of stories from the rails. So grab your favorite beverage, settle in, and enjoy the Roundhouse Report, a podcast of Iron City, by Iron City, and for Iron City. Hello once again, and welcome to another episode of the Iron City Roundhouse Report. It's Brad Williamson and Pat Moore here with you again, and tonight we're going to be doing an episode that we're going to call Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, with two very special guests that we'll introduce a little bit later on. But right now, Pat and I are going to bring us our thoughts on our Roundhouse Report segment that we do before we get into the discussion with our two special guests. So, Pat, do you have anything you from this week felt the need to report on for this episode?
Hey, Brad. Hey, everybody. Great to be here again. Yep, it's time for the Roundhouse Report. We'll just jump right into it tonight. Hey, my first one this evening is going to be John O. He was the cover photo contest of our Whistle Stop sponsored cover photo for the month of September. Congratulations, John. Great job. I think he had a small pike, a railroad with the Boston and Maine, it looks like. Great little photo. Really good detail. He has some really good scenery scenes there. Great looking loco and a nice car to pulled. Looks like a business car or a pike car, a commuter train going through there. So that's a good one. Congratulations, John, and thank you to the Whistle Stop Hobbies for being our sponsor. That's my first one tonight. How about you, Brad?
Yeah, I'd like to echo the congratulations to John on that too. That's a great photo, and glad to have him as the winner, and we again want to thank our sponsor for that, for the Whistle Stop, for providing the prizes for the winner. So yes, congrats, John, and thank you for participating, and thank you for all your contributions to the Iron City Facebook page. Much appreciated. So the first one that I wanted to talk about, Pat, was from Gary Walters, known as the Big G. He shared with us on the page this week that he did looks like a special tribute car to the recently departed Ozzy Osbourne. Cylindrical hopper, Golden West service, did some weathering on it, but then made two custom decals. They're almost like graffiti decals, except it's an image of Ozzy on one part of the car, and then his name, Ozzy Osbourne, is painted toward the one side of it. So very nice job with the weathering and decaling on that car, and he included a bunch of pictures of it, I presume, on his layout, and just turned out really cool. And I was able to start a discussion with him about it, and it turns out he's coming. He usually does come to the N-Scale weekend, but he inquired about possibly bringing that car and running it on the Iron City layout. And I had to tell him, we do have very strict entrance standards to get in the club. You have to show up with a piece of equipment and set it on the layout, and then you're eligible to run. So he did say that he's going to be stopping at our good friend Todd Treaster's place up in Burnham that weekend, where he's also going to run some equipment on Todd's layout. But he said he is planning on, since the invitation is open, that he's going to bring some other equipment to run. So we'll have the Big G there running with us, and he'll have that really cool example of the Ozzy Osbourne cylindrical hopper that he painted up. So looking forward to hanging out with him at the show and to seeing his fine work on that car in person.
Oh, excellent. Excellent. Hey, Brad, I've got another one. Number 2 for me this evening is the question of the week. I posted a question of the week, and I kind of stole this from our friends over at the Crossing Gate. They were talking about projects on their podcast, and I was like, oh, that just brought to mind some future topics for me. I thought I would pass on to everybody, and that was what are your project goals for this fall? Everybody, I hear a lot of modelers, hey, I model all year round, and I get it, but there are a lot of people that do have seasonal, modeling. They really get into it in the fall and the winter months, and once the good weather breaks, it's a jailbreak, especially in Pennsylvania. Everybody's trying to get out in the warm weather, you know, all 40 degrees of us, in the spring. So I get it. There is a hobby season, and people don't like to use that word, but we do have it. And so I thought it'd be really nice to see what people are asking to do or what they're trying to do. And something that struck me from a few of our folks out there is, people do have goals. They do have it, plans. Some are maintenance related, some are new scenery related, or trying to build modules and stuff. But you also have folks, that get in ruts, and they're having trouble getting back into the hobby, or just spinning a little bit about what to do or what to work on next. Especially, I hate to say this word, but every once in a while people do finish their layout. I've never seen anybody yet do it. I've heard a few. It's rumored and whispered in the mountains that, hey, someone actually finished the layout, but I never will. I'm always adding something. There's always
Oh,
a detail to add or something. But it was,
I agree.
it's good to write something on a whiteboard or write it down on paper. Or I think on my module I'm working on right now, I do it in phases. Hey, I got phase one done, the planning. Phase two's build. Phase three is paint. You know what I mean? I'm making it all up. You know what I mean? It's up to me. What my phases are or whatever. And it doesn't make it a chore in the hobby. It just kind of keeps you on track a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, hey, I got
Yeah,
a goal
absolutely.
here. I want to do this or I want to do that. So, yeah, the question of the week I thought was pretty good this week. Put those lists out there, make those lists for yourself, get it on a piece of paper, get it on a whiteboard, and try to manage that a little bit for yourself. I think you'll feel accomplished once you get that done, and you can go on to the next project. That's my number
Yeah.
two, Brad.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. Well, and I would add to it, you can use paper or whiteboard, but also a lot of times for me is you just put it down, share it with the group, and then it's almost like you're committed. Once you share it with the group, you got to live up to it because people are going to be watching. So you put your goals down and let people see what they are, and then that can serve as a motivator to keep you moving. But as far as the seasons go, I'm kind of a little bit of a weirdo in that regard. My heavy construction season is usually in the summer when I'm off work. I'm a high school teacher, so I have time in the summer to do a lot of the heavy construction stuff like bench work and things like that. So that's usually when I get that done. And then the fall, winter, and early spring months for me are spent just filling in gaps in the scenery or doing a little bit of detail work, stuff like that. But yeah, there definitely are seasons, and it definitely is good to have a plan, whether you keep the plan to yourself or share it with your friends, just to serve as a motivator to keep you moving. So yeah, I thought that was a good discussion that you started there with the question of the week.
And Brad, you know what they say? If it's not on Facebook, it never happened. So write that on Facebook and then take a picture when you get it accomplished.
Yeah. Yep. Photographic evidence, or it never happened, or even video, or it never
That's right.
happened.
That's right.
I'm kind of glad of that, Pat, because a lot of stuff I did back in my teens and early 20s did not get videoed, so it never happened, and I'm kind of thankful for that now that I'm in my 50s.
What do we always say? No flash photography. No
Yeah,
flash
exactly.
photography.
Yeah. Yes. All camera and video equipment will be confiscated upon leaving.
So,
Yeah.
Brad, what's your number two tonight?
The next one that I wanted to talk about was our buddy Jimmy Brom, who has appeared as a yard master with us on the show before. He did a layout tour of his HO scale Wheeling in Lake Erie layout, and it's just always nice to see Jimmy's progress as I know he's working towards the AP program in the NMRA, and you can just see and watch as Jimmy gets better and better. His modeling skills just keep improving and improving. And of course, that translates to a nicer and nicer layout, and things are really, I think, starting to come together for him. He's made some significant progress, and it's just nice to have Jimmy share that with us on the website. He shared, I think it was around a 5-minute layout tour video, and it was just nice to see what's going on Jimmy's layout. So thank you to Jimmy for sharing that, and that was my number 2 item for the report of this week.
Yeah, Brad, Jimmy has been a multiple showcase participant, and it's always good to see every year when he does a showcase, like, okay, what's he added, or what's going on here, or what's the next project for Jim. So it's always good to see him post those videos. I enjoy them very much.
Yep, I do as well, very much so.
So, Brad, hey, we're going to go jump right into our guest here in just a few seconds. So we'll be back right after this with our special guest. Hey, everybody, we're back tonight with our show we're calling Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. We've got some great guests to come on the show, and I'll pass it over to Brad, and he'll introduce them.
Yeah, welcome to another episode of the Iron City Roundhouse Report. Thank you so much for joining us. We're very appreciative of anybody who takes time to spend a little bit of time listening to us. With us tonight are 2 pretty special guests from the National Model Railroad Association. We have, first of all, the chairperson of the Standards and Conformances Committee, and also the newly seated president of NRAIL. Andy Zimmerman is here with us tonight, so we're delighted to have him. And then from all the way across the world, down under, we have Martyn Jenkins with us, who is an at-large worldwide director in the NMRA. And Marty also owns his own retail shop called Marty's Train Shed. So if you're down under in Australia and you need some quality digital components, electronic components for your model railroad, I think Marty can probably help you out with that. So welcome to both of you guys, and thank you so much for being with us tonight. It's great to have you here.
Well, it's great to be here.
Yep, happy to be on the show.
Hey, guys, we're so happy to have you guys this evening, and Brad and I have come up with some good questions, I believe. Well, I think they're good questions. Brad kind of sometimes tells me, what were you thinking? But we want to really introduce our audience to the NMRA and try to explain to them what they are. But we also want to talk about why we call the show Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, because of the convention that you just had and everyone traveling around the world to get to the convention. So with that, Brad and I will start the questions, and I'll let you guys talk, and you guys can just hop in as you want, whoever wants to take the first one. But as we get into this show tonight, we want to know, what is the NMRA, and who wants to take that one first?
I can take it.
Okay.
So anyway, sorry. National Model Railroad Association, NMRA. It's not the National Mustang Racing Association. So just, you want to think of it as like a international umbrella group for model railroaders. We set up and maintain standards, encourage innovation, work with manufacturers from all aspects of the model railroading community, from all the different niches. We encourage innovation. We help connect people through divisions, regions, conventions, and meets. It started back in 1935, 90 years ago. And it started, matter of fact, we just celebrated our 90th anniversary on Labor Day weekend. So, but it started because, they needed a standard to run trains, because they would take trains from one place, from one organization to another organization, and sometimes they would run and sometimes they wouldn't. So it became very frustrating. So they decided to start up the National Model Railroad Association. And when they started it up, the first thing they started with was the cornerstone of the organization, which is standards and conformance. And we've been chugging along since then.
And yeah, not Marty. That's Andy Zimmerman is what I meant to say. I call Andy oftentimes the busiest man in model railroading with all the stuff he's involved in, because in addition to his duties in that standards and conformances division of the NMRA, he's now the president of NRail, and I know it's exciting to have somebody with Andy's ability and talent in there, but I know, Andy, the circumstances around which you got seated there, was kind of a sad thing. I think you wanted to say a few words about that and about the person who was in that seat before you got it. So go ahead and.
Oh, sure, absolutely. So the NRail was led and managed by John Wallace, and John Wallace had been an NMRA member for 57 years. Actually, it was like 56 years and 9 months or something to that effect. But 57 years as a model railroader. He immigrated to the United States from Canada back in 1980. I want to say it was 84. And the minute he arrived in the U.S., he was automatically a member of his local train club. He was already a member of the NMRA, and then he became a member of NTRAC, which was NRail's predecessor. And back in like 2017, during the elections in 2017, they asked him if he'd take over as president, and he ran for president, and he'd been the president right up until recently, when basically John went home after a day of setting up for model trains, and he did all the normal things he normally does and had dinner with his son and then went to sleep. And when he went to sleep, he just didn't get up. So it was a great loss for the NRail community, the N-scale community, and it's some big shoes to fill, and John cast a really long shadow. So I'm just hoping that I can do it justice, and just keep it moving along, and keep it growing in memory of John and everything that he had done.
Thank you for filling us in on that, Andy. Truly, he's definitely one of the pioneers in N-scale modular railroading. I think that's safe to say, and that was a big loss to the community. So we just wanted to send our condolences to John's family and just acknowledge all the stuff that he did for the community of model railroading.
Mm-hmm.
And Marty, we want to talk a little bit about this not only being just a U.S. or North American. Tell us a little bit about Australia and NMRA and how that works over there.
Well, NMRA, when you ask the question, what is the NMRA? The NMRA, I go to a few clubs, and when I'm being asked here by different people, and they say, why are you so passionate about the NMRA? The NMRA is the reason we have this hobby. In 1935, they turned around, and a couple of clubs used to get together, and they realized that their equipment wasn't compatible. And the biggest thing that the NMRA put together was the standards and conformance, which Andy is in charge of and runs. And it is what's made the hobby that we have today what it is. It's the reason why you can buy a loco from Scale Trains, and you can put it on microscale track, or you can put it on Pico track, or you can put it on Atlas track, and it'll work nicely. It's the reason why we have all these standards and why all our little models all work with each other nice. Otherwise, we'd all be like Hornby modelers or Martyn modelers or Atlas modelers, because we'd all be hooked onto one brand. And that's what the NMRA did. So to me, it's like an insurance policy that this hobby stays the way it is, that I can buy a ESU decoder and it will work with the Digitrax DCC system.
Exactly.
We've got that interoperability, and that's what's made the hobby as great as it is today. Without that, we'd all be individual modelers, and we'd have to be beholden to manufacturers, and we'd only be able to use, if we picked a certain manufacturer, well, then we'd be stuck with whatever offerings they give us. But due to the NMRA bringing in the standards and conformance, it's given us this this wide variety of choice. The other thing that it provides then is fellowship. And the amount of people that I've met worldwide, I mean, I'm sitting in a little shed here on the Gold Coast in south of Brisbane, and the amount of people that I've met around the world through the NMRA is just, it blows my mind. Every time I go to Springfield, I walk about 10 feet and someone goes, "You're Marty from NMRAX," or "You're Marty, I've heard you on a podcast," or I've heard, and, it's just mind blowing.
Yeah.
And all of that comes back through fellowships through the NMRA. Now we have a NMRA in Australia. It's slightly different to the way it's run in the US. In the NMRA in Australia, for the main thing is you don't have to be a North American modeler to be a member or participate in the NMRA in Australia. In fact, we've got MMRs that have got their MMR and done all their AP certificates modelling 12 mil narrow gauge Queensland railways. So the NMRA is truly an international organisation, and it has been for a number of years, and it's getting bigger. We're getting more people here. There's more people in Europe. There's more people in the UK that are joining, and it's exciting times coming ahead, I think.
And one thing that I wanted to add too is just from things that I've observed. First of all, not only did they have the standards and conformances, the NMRA, it has worked so well that people they take it for granted that things were always this way. And as Marty illustrated, they're not. And I've heard people say, well, the NMRA tries to take credit for that, but the manufacturers would have figured that out on their own. And to that I respond, try to take a part off of your Chevrolet General Motors vehicle and put it on a Ford and see how well that works out. Because they don't have, the automakers for the most part don't have a set of standards that they build stuff to. Now there's some stuff I'm sure is interchangeable, but not like we have here. I mean, people don't even give it a second thought because the standards and conformances did such a good job of developing standards that the manufacturers, for the most part follow to the T, and we don't even think about it because you don't even think about, well, I bought an Atlas locomotive and it works on my Kato Unitrack. The people, unfortunately, I guess, it worked so well that people take it for granted today. So that's one of the biggest things too that the NMRA has done for the model railroading community.
So as we talk to you guys about how you guys are doing in the hobby and NMRA, so I'd like to go back and just touch a little bit on your all's background. So if we go with Andy first, how long have you been a member, Andy, and what kind of model railroading do you do at home?
All right, so I was very reluctant to join the NMRA back in the day because I was running into some of the same issues that a lot of model railroaders who consider the NMRA run into, and it's kind of like I call it the old head way of thinking, and there wasn't a lot of mentorship and a lot of fellowship. It got kind of cliquey, that kind of thing. So back in 2010, I decided, you know what, if you want to join this organization, you want to make a difference, you're going to have to get involved. So I joined back in 2010, and I've been a member since then. And I model in N scale, as Brad well knows, and I mostly model in modular model railroading and T-track. So I have about 50, pretty close to 50 T-track modules, different sizes and shapes, etc. So, but I do a lot of modular model railroading, but I also I have a very small layout here in the house as well.
So Andy, are you like the commercial on Pringles? You just can't eat one when it comes to modular railroading.
That's exactly right. You can't have just one. And it's funny because I'll be sitting on my couch and watching a movie or something. I'm like, oh, that would make such a great module. So I start writing down all this, how I'd like it to look. And then I go out in the garage and I grab one of the kits that I've got on standby out there, and away I go.
Not to be a nitpicker, Pat, but that's Lay's, not Pringles.
Is that Lay's?
Yeah,
Lay's
it is Lay's.
potatoes.
It is Lay's.
You with your facts again, Brad. I'm telling you.
I've born and raised in Pennsylvania, the potato chip capital of the world, so you don't mess up potato chips.
And Marty, tell us a little bit about your background. How long have you been in the NMRA, and what's your background in modeling?
Well, let's see. I started the NMRA around about 2003. The NMRA in Australia was, especially in Queensland, was a very low-key group. So they had very social meetings where you'd roll up and basically be at someone's house. You'd go and look at their layout and basically chew the fat with, which is an Australian term for talk, with a bunch of other modelers and drink coffee and admire other people's work and get tips on how to do things and the likes. And I quite liked the band of guys that were in our club that were a member of it. So I started going along, and next minute I joined, and within about 2 years I was actually the Div superintendent for the division, which is the largest division that's in Australia, and it's about 300 and so members. So I was Div Super then in the NMRA for around about 9 years, until they decided that, hey, this is burning people out and we're going to have term limits. So I had to surrender that. So I ended up being the social media manager for the Australian region. And then next minute, I was talking with Gordy. I met him over in 2018 over at Kansas City. And I was talking with him. And then next minute, I was standing as worldwide director. And I didn't think someone from, well, no one that's been out of the North American sphere, such as Canada and the US, had ever been elected to that position. So I didn't think I would. And, I blitzed it in on the first try. I think I got about 600 votes more than the next guy in line. And again, that was due to the NMRAX and the podcasts that I've been doing and been on. And next minute I'm on the board of directors. So who knew? But back then in 2003, when I was getting in someone's car to go and talk about narrow gauge railways and bits and pieces, that I'd be jetting off around the world to attend board meetings and doing the stuff that we're doing with the NMRA national team.
And for any of our listeners who may not be that familiar with the NMRA, Gordy, that Martyn just referred to, is NMRA President Gordy Robinson from Scotland, who's just brought a lot of energy and a lot of positive new ideas to that position that he's in. So just wanted to give a shout out to Gordy and all that he's done too.
Yes, yeah. Well, I've known Gordy for quite a while. As I said, I first met him in person at Kansas City. And this is where we got the idea of NMRAX, because we were Gordy was actually doing a clinic on social media for the divisions. And I was sitting there with my laptop and I said, oh, hang on, while you're doing this, I'll just turn the camera on and turn the laptop around and put it up onto YouTube, and we'll broadcast this to the world. And then next minute we had about 40 or 50 different people coming on there, and that gave us the idea then about doing this NMRAX thing in 2020 of just starting up doing clinics live online and live layout tours and the likes. And the crux of it compared to what anybody else was doing, well, not many people were doing stuff back in 2020, but we did it live. So it was warts and all. If someone's internet wasn't working or they had a power failure at the time, well, we had to run with it. So yeah, they were interesting times. We did the first one and we didn't think we would get, and of course, Gordy, we got to do it big. So the first one's 24 hours of live stream clinics and layout tours. And we didn't think we'd get 2 hours into it because we were doing it out of an old an old ex-government computer here in Australia, and Gordy was controlling the computer while I was in bed via TeamViewer from Orkney. We thought this is just a recipe for the whole thing to fall over. After 24 hours, we were still going, and it's still going today. So,
And I believe that was the first time I didn't really meet you, but it was the first time I ever heard your voice and saw you. What wasn't I think our good buddy Uncle Dave Abeleys was wasn't he, didn't he do a layout tour on that, I think? And I can
he
remember.
did a layout. Yeah, he was one of the early people that we got on to do a layout tour. The very first one was a chap by the name of Ralph Renzetti, who was a prolific weatherer of logos and the likes. Unfortunately, Ralph passed away about a week or so ago, which is still pretty hard to realise.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought him up, because his weathering techniques were pretty amazing, and that's another loss to the modeling community.
It is. It's a big loss with Ralph gone, and he was our very first person on NMRAX, which is the online podcast, the online clinic provider of NMRA equipment, NMRA shows, and I was doing it here, doing the production from my computer and in Australia here, and I thought, rightio, Ralph, we're ready to go. Off you go. And I started the show 15 minutes early. And so we get to the actual on the hour mark when everybody was actually signing in, and they're signing in, and he's already 15 minutes into his clinic. And we're getting all these complaints in the chat about, it started early and blah, blah, blah. So I had to jump in and say, listen, Ralph, sorry, I've made a blunder here. Can you go back to slide? Can you go back to slide one and start your whole presentation from the beginning?
You know what? I remember that now. I had forgotten, but I do remember that happening now. I was watching.
Ralph, the true trooper Ralph was. Yep, not a problem. He went back to the beginning and we started off. But I tell you what, at the end of the show, he gave me a piece of his mind saying, if you can't get this organized about when I'm starting and when I'm not starting.
Hey, guys, on this next question, we want to talk about what are some of the benefits you guys think of being an individual member? Like if someone wanted to sign up today, how would they do that? And what are the benefits of signing up for the NMRA? Andy, do you want to take that first?
Sure. So if you want to join the NMRA, you can go online to the NMRA.org and sign up digitally online. You can sign up through your local division, or you can call headquarters, and one of the staff there will get you squared away and get you all set up in the system. It's meant to, be as easy as possible to join. And some of the benefits, well, there's plenty of benefits. So you get, when you join, you get the NMRA digital magazine for the cost of your membership without any additional cost. If you want the publication, the printed publication, that'll cost you a little extra annually. So part of the other benefits are taking advantage of the partnership program. The partnership discounts that we get. I managed to buy enough model railroading equipment throughout the year that by using the partnership program, I literally pay for my membership in discounts that I get. And also, we have NMRX, we've got online clinics, we've got clinics at conventions, and obviously the convention itself. And best of all, I think Marty hit on it earlier, that it's the fellowship with other modelers. Some members join mainly for the friendship and the layout visits. Others, they like the technical side and the standards and the wiring and the weathering clinics. But every member benefits from the standards. So you don't have to join for that. We just do that naturally with the 94 volunteers that we have on the standards and conformance team across 5 different divisions. So that's some of the benefits to both members and non-members.
I have to just echo what Andy said about that partnership program. I am pretty confident. I've been a member now for, I think I'm going on 3 years. And I know that if I factor in all of the discounts that I've gotten from manufacturers who participate in that partnership program, I I know that my NMRA membership for those 3 years has been less than the cost of what I have saved from you get discounts ranging anywhere from what, 10 to 20% roughly, I think,
Right.
on any of those manufacturers, and the list of those manufacturers is growing. It just seems day by day, every week or so there are new ones who are added to that. And so that, like I said, I know I kept track for the first year, and I'm in the process of building a fairly large N scale layout in my basement. Between that and the stuff I buy for my T-Track modules to build them, and just all different there's so many different manufacturers that participate. I'm very confident in saying that I've probably, even from a monetary standpoint, more than paid for my NMRA memberships for the last 3 years, just with the discounts I've gotten. So that's a great program, and that's not the only great part of the NMRA either. So I just wanted to add that.
And along with that, it's people hear about conventions all the time, and they're like, oh, okay, they're having another convention, in Novi, Michigan, or they're having it in Long Beach, or they're having it, at some location across the U.S. But until they actually participate in one, I didn't realize what I was missing. So the knowledge that you gain, the people that you meet, like Marty, the other modelers that are able to sit down with you and say, you know what, that sounds like a great technique, but did you think about doing this, or using this material, or just helping you, mentoring you in your journey in model railroading? The whole experience, the whole convention experience is just kind of mind-boggling when you first do it. It's almost like going to Disneyland. You can't see everything and you can't enjoy everything, and you just want to go back to the next one.
It's like Pat, for you, it's like going to Todd Treaster's layout, and you get in there and see the collection and the layout, and start to get dizzy and lightheaded. Yeah, it's that same type of thing.
So Andy and Marty are both, been members of the Iron City for a while now, and Marty started doing his planes, trains, and automobiles, picture to get to the convention. As we turn, Andy, that was a good segue to talk about the convention, because you're saying how wonderful it is and how overwhelmed you were. It was it seems like it's so wonderful that someone will fly from Australia to the United States to go to it. So, Marty, tell us a little bit about your journey to that, and what drives you to go to these conventions, and what do you think about the conventions?
Well, the first convention I ever went to was in Portland in 2015, and that just blew my mind. And I vowed that I would try and get to as many of these as I can, and do it every second year, because it's a long way to go. I mean, to get to Novi, for instance, it's only a short trip. It was 9,613 miles. So, like most of us do that on the weekend when we go away for a weekend or the lunch, So to get there was I had to fly to LA, and usually I'll try and break the trip up. So I flew to LA, then I had a couple of days in LA, which was an experience because I stayed at an airport motel or hotel next to the airport, and I had the opportunity to go down to the La Mesa Club at Balboa Park and go on the Tehachapi, have a run on the Tehachapi layout that's down there. And so, but to get there, I had to get to Union Station in LA. So I thought, let's have a look how much an Uber is. So an Uber in LA to get from my hotel there was about $90 American. So I thought, don't think I'll be doing that. Let's see if there's a cheaper form of transportation. Well, there's the metro, which is down the road, the light rail through LA. So I thought, yeah, I can catch the metro here down to Rosa Parks Station, then I can get on the A line and head up straight into Union Station. But I didn't realise that it went through Compton and Watts and all these suburbs, which you don't really see when you go on tourist tours of Los Angeles. And yeah, so it was a bit hairy at 11:30 at night on a Saturday night. Going through Compton and Watts on the A line, but it's a dumb Aussie here. He'll do anything, So yeah, but I managed to get there. I managed to get down to San Diego, and I had a great day with Linda down at San Diego. She picked me up and took me to the museum there, and we got to drive trains around the Tehachapi Loop layout that they've got there, which is just amazing. Yeah, the size of that thing, and again, it's funny because I'm down there and I put a post up on Facebook saying, "Oh, I'm at the La Mesa Club running trains, blah blah blah." Next minute, there's also an N-Scale club there as well, and another guy jumps on there going, "Hey, I'm over at the N-Scale layout. Do you want to come over? We got a train here you can run as well." And I'm like, I can only be in one place at one time. But again, it's just, meeting all these different people. So after a day or so at, in LA, I flew then from there to Chicago and then changed planes in Chicago and flew to Novi, to Detroit. Of which case then American Airlines had misplaced my suitcase. So,
oh, no.
When I got to Novi, it was a day later, my suitcase finally arrived because apparently they thought I was catching the plane on the next day. So shows how good their booking system is. But anyway, it all worked out good in the end, and I got to Novi and we did the convention, and then I did the same route going back home. So back to LA, night over in LA, and then a trip on the pressurised toothpaste tube all the way back to Australia, which was it's only a short trip of about 13 hours. So
I was really glad that you shared that on various Facebook pages. I saw it. It was really cool to watch you as you traveled from the other side of the world to join us here in the States, and looked like you guys just had a fantastic time at Novi, and glad you were able to do that and document it for us.
Yes, and that was my pleasure. It's going to an NMRA convention. Really, it's like going to the Mecca of model railways. You've got a whole week where you've got clinics. There's, like at Novi, I believe they had around about 8 clinic rooms that started having clinics running at about 8 o'clock in the morning till 10, 11 o'clock at night. You had layout tours each day. This time I never actually got to any clinics at the convention, but I was doing probably 10 layout tours a day.
Wow.
When I finished, I was getting home. It was just like a blur. Which layout was that on? I'm looking at the photos I've taken and going, was that Joe Blow's layout or was that Bob's layout? I can't remember now. But yeah, it was like 10 layouts a day we were going to, and every one of them was, exceptional in what they had, and and some of them just totally mind blowing. I mean, went to one where the chap had an O scale layout upstairs, which was ON3 of the Durango Silverton, and he also had an O scale 32 mil 2-rail O scale with cab forwards and the lights on it. And then you went down to his basement and he had a huge HO layout down there, So, yeah, that was just completely mind-blowing,
And Andy, what do you think when you go to the convention? What do you target, or what's the most popular thing you like to go to?
So, well, those are actually two different things given my job, what I target and then what I actually take
Enjoy,
interest.
right? Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So what back in, I can't remember, what was it, like 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago, when Gordy reached out to me and said, I need a new standards and conformance department head. Would you consider doing it? And then when I took it over, he sent me this job description that was like 9 pages. I'm like, oh my God. So I looked at it. I'm like, this is a full-time job, So he goes, oh, no, no, it's going to be like, 5 to 15 hours a week, maybe. It won't be anything like that. So, but I'm here to tell you it's a second full-time job. So you reach out to it. So what I target is I go out and talk to the manufacturers and walk around and ask them about, new products that are coming out, any concerns that they have that they need my assistance with, what my team can help with, where we can be effective and help them be more efficient. Is there anything they have any questions on something that may not be specifically within the standards of conformance, that they might need assistance with specifications or, something, and, convince them to send items to us so that we can test them. And then once we test them, we do these conformance warrants and tell the whole world that, hey, this product will absolutely run on any conforming layout. So anyway, I target, those individuals because I want, to be effective in what I do.
Right. Right.
So, but what do I enjoy doing? So I got to admit, when, Marty was talking about it earlier, it brought to mind that I go on some of these layout tours and, you're just, gobstruck with gobsmacked, I guess is the word, when you're looking at these layouts and how, 3 and 4 and 5 levels high, and, they got a yard on the ground floor, and they've got, interchanges and everything else going on. And you're looking at these massive layouts, and then you hear about how they had to reconstruct their basement in their house and change things just so their model railroad would fit, So,
Right.
you look at them and you're just like, I'm like, this is absolutely amazing. And, then they talk about how they're doing operations, which is also another benefit of being an NMRA member. You find these great places to go do operations, and you can get it. Some of these places you got to get in line. And sometimes it's 1 year out, 2 years out if you want to go operate on their layout. But you find out about operations and you find out about all the things that they're doing, and it helps you kick it up a notch. When you think about what can I do next? What can I do so that my level of modeling is, comes up to this level of modeling? And I'm always taking pictures of, great ideas and things that I found on somebody's layout, and just it continues to help me develop my modeling skills and the ideas that I can take back to a T-track module and shrink it down to a double T-track module and employ some of the same ideas and get the same effects. So that's what I love, going to the layout tours. And then also the clinics are fantastic. If you get yourself into the right clinics, you can't help but walk away a better modeler.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
And Andy, one thing I think that we want to emphasize a little bit is all that work that you described that you do with the manufacturers. That I mentioned is like a second full-time job. Andy volunteers his time to do all that.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to thank both of you guys for your volunteer service to the NMRA. But Andy, it strikes me that as a U.S. citizen, we also owe you a thank you for the other service that you did. Andy was a senior chief in the U.S. Navy. So thank you very much for your service to our country too. But I do have a question that kind of relates to that.
Sure.
You were an enlisted man. Did you ever encounter officers who, like, when there's a task to do, they always manage to find somewhere else to be but show up right when you're done? Did you ever have that happen to someone?
Yeah, you don't think that officers actually do a thing, right? So they run over and say, "Hey, Chief, the CO just tasked me with this, and I don't know where to go with this." And I'm like, "Just give it to me and let me handle it." So yeah,
Not that this has ever happened, but it'd be kind of like a guy wanting to set up a T-track layout, and he always has times it perfectly to when someone else has the layout up and running. They get there just in time to run their trains. Not that we know anyone like that.
yeah.
I'm going to keep quiet on that one.
Well, I thought you were actually talking about me, because I have a reputation with our club to be doing that, because I do because I do all the control systems. I just tell them, look, just plug it in and it'll work. And I'm putting legs up on layout. I can't do that. There's no wires involved in plugging modules together.
So Andy,
Marty,
it looks like in this group, you and I are the grunts, and these two are the officer type guys.
I was going to say, Marty and I are the guys. Brad and I know Andy hates to hear an officer say this. I've got a great idea.
It's kind of like one of my enlisted saying, "Senior Chief, hold my beer."
You're right. Yeah. Hey, so
joking aside, Pat, I need to thank you for your service too. Pat's
no
a retired colonel from the U.S. Army too. But we've had a little inter-service rivalry going on between Andy and Pat, and then we also have the officer versus enlisted man thing going.
So real quick, I'll try to make this really, really quick. But at the convention, I was talking to a modeler who was using, I can't remember the name of the strip. They're like an LED strip and an audio system. I do a lot of stuff with lightning and thunder and clouds and different stuff for my layout without it looking tacky. And I saw a guy that actually used some LED strips, and the way he did it, it looks like lightning coming down and striking the ground, and the strips are fairly transparent. So you don't see it. The eye doesn't catch it right away until it actually happens. So I inquired about it, and one of the guys said, "Well, here, let me introduce you to him. He's actually a service member too. He was an officer." And so I walk over to talk to him, and when I walk over to talk to him, he introduces himself as he was an Air Force colonel. And so I looked at his name tag. I'm like, "No way. You're Colonel Sanders?" And that was his last name was Sanders, and his name is actually, he was Colonel Sanders. Oh my gosh,
that's good.
Hey guys, as we wrap up tonight, one last question: where is the convention next year, so people can start planning? And what is one future thing you're hoping to see from the NMRA in the next few years?
Marty, do you want to take that one first?
Okay. First off, there's actually going to be a few changes you're probably going to see over the next couple of years. As a board member, we've been working on a project called Project 2035, where we have a number of visions that we want the NMRA to be going in that direction. One of them was mentioned earlier on, and that was by reducing fees. We don't know what they're going to be, but the aim of the idea is to get the fee structure down. But there's a couple of other things that are going to be happening soon. You might find a different logo might be appearing in a short while, and it'll be a logo that's been designed so that every division and region can use the same logo. One of the things that we've discovered is we're a worldwide organization, but if you look at all the different regions, they all have different logos. Now, if you go to McDonald's in China, they have the same logo as the McDonald's that was in Novi. If you go to a McDonald's here in the Gold Coast, it has the same logo as the one in LA. Even though they're in different parts of the world and they have different menus and they do different things, they still have the same. So we've been looking at branding and changing a few things in that facet. And the next convention we got is actually, next year's in Chattanooga, which is panning out to be a brilliant convention. And then after that, we're heading up to Tacoma, I believe it is, if I got it right. You remember that I'm an Australian, so as long as it's in America, I've hit the right button anyway. So yeah, I kept getting this argument when I kept calling Kansas City, Kansas, and I'd get a heap of people jumping down my throat saying, "No, it's not Kansas. It's not Kansas." And I go, "Well, from an Australian's point of view, if it's Kansas City, it's Kansas. You know? I'm sorry. You know." But yeah, there are a few things that are going to be changing. People should be aware. We've been working on this visioning program now at a board level for around about 18 months, and we've identified a number of things that need to change, and we're moving things around to change that. One of them, I've talked to you, Brad, before about education. We're actually importing an LMS system. We've been using Google Classrooms for a bit, but now we're going to go full on online with our own LMS system, similar to Brightspace, for delivering training so that the training can be the same all around the world. So it doesn't matter if you're in, Detroit, or whether you're in the back blocks of Upper Combukta West in Queensland, your training will be the same, delivered the same way. And it's not just a fact of having videos on there. We're looking at having active classrooms where we can actually deliver training one-on-one to people. And that can be anything from, weathering a loco to how do you run a division. So it's quite wide and varied. So
that sounds like it has the potential to be a very powerful tool there. That's pretty neat. I wasn't aware of that.
Well, it is, because going with the conformance and standards, training is probably our next biggest thing to put out there. And, delivering it in a paper-based format just doesn't cut the mustard. So things have got to change. We're slowly bringing it kicking and screaming into the 21st century. It won't happen overnight, and it probably won't happen in my tenure on the board, but it will happen, and it's moving that way now.
Well, that's excellent. And we really appreciate you guys being on this evening. And I think we're going to try to talk to you guys in the future, maybe another show. I think Brad and I have got some other ideas we want to talk to you guys about. So don't be strangers to our show. We really appreciate you guys coming on this evening. And I'm sure Brad wants to tell you guys thanks also.
Yeah, you've got to remember, Pat, you're always talking to me in the future.
There you go.
Yeah, we're talking to him tomorrow. Yeah, but I just want to echo what Pat said. Thank you guys so much for being here, and I just want to point out once again all of this stuff that these guys are doing, and it's a considerable amount of work that they do. They're not doing it for pay. They're not doing it for recognition. They're doing it because they love the hobby of model railroading. So thank you guys for everything that you do, and in particular right now, thank you so much for joining us for this, and we look forward to hearing more from you guys in the future. So thanks very much. And Pat and I will be right back right after this to wrap things up here.
Welcome back, everybody. What a great show tonight, Brad. I learned a lot about the NMRA, and it was great to have Andy and Marty on this evening.
Yeah, just two really great guys. I always enjoy talking with them. And I know, Pat, that you are in the early planning stages of hoping to get to Springfield. It's always cool to see Marty there because he usually has a little trinket from his homeland in Australia. Last year, I got a little koala bear from him.
Oh, wow.
At Springfield, which is still hanging out here at the house. And Andy, with all the fabulous and just super important work that he does with the Standards and Conformances Committee of the NMRA, it was just great to have those guys on and talk to them. And we'll be revisiting those guys again in the near future, I'm sure, and hopefully many times in the distant future. So very much enjoyed chatting with Andy and Marty, and looking forward to our next conversation with them.
Yeah, Brad, when we were talking, I kept thinking about, when I first Marty, and that was on Model Rail Radio, that podcast that kind of set the standard way back in the day with people calling in and everything. And I always appreciate his comments and everything. It was finally great to have him on our show, and at such an early stage in our show, just our first season. So that was really good. And I'm hoping to have more alumni from Model Rail Radio on our show. A lot of great folks from the UK and Australia. You get another feeling of what model railroading is overseas and everything they're doing there. I'd also like to thank the NMRA for allowing us to post our show on their page, on their Facebook page, to get people to understand where we're at, where they can find us on our different shows when we're podcasting. So I really appreciate what they've done for us there, Brad.
Yeah, that is a nice thing that they welcome us to do, and maybe in the near future we may even get some more of the folks in the leadership echelon of the NMRA. You just never know what might happen. But while we're thanking people, Pat, I think it would be right of us to thank Ray Arnott from the Around the Layout podcast. He had us on as guests, and we had really nice conversation with Ray, and we've had a bit of a spike in membership since then. And, it's just nice when two podcasts, instead of looking at each other as competitors and rivals or whatever you want to call it, we just decided we're going to try to work together to move the hobby forward and to move, hopefully both of our podcasts forward. So Ray, thank you very much for having us on. And we look forward to some of the plans that you did without completely divulging what you were doing. It sounds like you've got the wheels are turning on some pretty exciting projects that I'm sure will follow with a lot of interest. So just wanted to say thank you to Ray and wish him best wishes for his continued success at Around the Layout. It was great getting to meet him on the internet, and I look forward to what he's got in store in the future too.
Brad, I'm still trying to figure out how Ray managed us for a whole hour together.
I don't know. I would have been ripping my hair out if I would have had to deal with you and I. That's absolutely true.
Hey, well, Brad, as we close another great podcast, just want to say, hey, thanks to the listeners. And if you're trying to get us on we are anywhere you want to download your podcast, we're there. We're at Apple, we're at YouTube, Podbean, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Player FM, Listen Notes, Podchaser, and Boomplay. You also can find us on the Iron City InScale page. It's on Facebook. You can DM Brad or myself, or you can just post right there on the page. We're looking for your videos. We're looking for your pictures of your layout or your collection. We'll answer your questions with long answers to your short questions, and we'll be there for you on our page. So come on over to our page. All we ask is that you answer the 2 questions so we can just screen to make sure that we're dealing with the right people. So we really appreciate you. And with that, I'll give it to Brad for his final comments for this evening.
Yeah, the one thing I wanted to mention too is the YouTube part of of where our podcast appears. Recently underwent a little bit of house cleaning and shaped it up a little bit better, so it's a little bit easier to find. When we first opened this, we basically just linked our Podbean subscription to my personal YouTube channel. And a lot of times, if you searched Iron City Roundhouse Report, it didn't come up because that wasn't the name of the channel. Well, I finally figured out you could change that. So it is now changed to Iron City Roundhouse Report. So if you enjoy getting your podcasts on YouTube, hopefully this one will be a little bit easier to find. And feel free to subscribe to our channel, because that opens up more ability for us to do live streams, which we do have plans for, hopefully doing some live videos for our upcoming show at the Altoona N-Scale weekend. So with that, we'll close it out here and just say thank you very much for listening. We appreciate all the time everybody who tunes in to listen to us. We hope you continue to enjoy it. And as long as you enjoy listening, we're going to continue to enjoy bringing these to you. So Having said that, we will sign off from another episode of the Iron City Roundhouse Report. All right, rail fans, that's all the steam we've got for this edition of the Iron City Roundhouse Report. Until next time, keep those gauges green, your couplers connected, and may your layouts always run smoothly. Happy railroading.